Welcome to the Statewide Learning Management System course on funds reservation. Today's lesson will teach you how to calculate the amount of funding that needs to be reserved against both a new contract and a contract amendment, and will explain how to calculate the amount of funding to be reserved. What is a reservation of funds? A reservation of funds, also known as a pre-encumbrance, sets aside a portion of an agency's appropriation for payments to be made against a contract throughout the fiscal year. This ensures that financing will be available for intended expenses against this contract. Once funds are reserved, they are not available to be used for anything other than the specified purpose. An agency should not reduce the amount of funding reserved unless the contract value is also being reduced accordingly. The Office of the State Comptroller requires a full reservation of funds to be obligated through the end of the current fiscal year. Please note that construction-related contracts require a pre-encumbrance for the full value of the contract over its entire term. The fiscal year for New York State agencies runs from April 1st through March 31st. The fiscal year for state and city universities runs from July 1st through June 30th.
Now let's take a look at how to ensure that the proper funding is pre-encumbered against a new contract. To start, let's log into the statewide financial system. Once you log in, you'll be directed to the SFS homepage. To locate a contract, click on the navigation bar in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Select the Navigator button. Click on Procurement Contracts, then select Add Update Contracts. The following screen will appear. Search for your contract using any of the available search criteria. For the purposes of this video, we are going to search by business unit, New York State contract number, and department ID. Once you locate the desired contract, you should see a contract entry page like this one. If you scroll down on this screen, you will come across two sections called Amount Summary and Contract Items. You will use these two sections to calculate the amount of funding that needs to be reserved. As previously mentioned, the agency must reserve enough funds to make payments on the contract through the end of the fiscal year. If your agency is unsure of the spending anticipated during this time frame, the average spending per month should be used. For a new contract, look at the maximum amount requested. This amount is the total amount of the initial contract term. Divide this amount by the number of months in the contract term to calculate the average spending per month. Once you have the monthly amount, multiply this number by the number of months remaining in the fiscal year. In this example, the contract began on June 1st, leaving 10 months in the fiscal year. This equation shows the calculation used to estimate the pre-encumbrance value, or funds reservation, needed for this contract. If you want to verify that your transaction was pre-encumbered correctly, look at the life-to-date requisition amount. On a new contract, this amount will be equal to the amount of funding you have just reserved. Now let's take a look at how to calculate the amount of funds that must be reserved against a contract amendment. Return to the search screen and enter your search criteria. For this example, we have used Business Unit, New York State Contract Number, and Department ID. Since this is a contract amendment, you may get a list of multiple results when you enter your search. In an instance like this, identify the most current version of the contract shown as current in the version status column. This will provide you with the most recent pre-encumbrance amount. Go ahead and click on this entry. Under the Amount Summary section, you will find the Remaining Amount field, which shows the remaining funds available for use. In this example, the amount of the one-year amendment is $15,000. Because the agency has $1,000 remaining on the contract, it has calculated that an additional $14,000 will need to be requested for this amendment. This will be your STS amount. As 4 months of the extension will take place in the current fiscal year, the agency should use the same equation used in the new contract example to calculate the pre-encumbrance. If the agency had $500 in existing invoices that had not been paid, the calculation for the STS value would look like this. Notice that even though the STS value has changed, the pre-encumbrance amount remains the same, as the amendment's total value per month is still calculated from the extension amount of $15,000. Please note the outstanding invoices should be taken into account when calculating the amount of funding needed to cover the extension period.
This concludes this video on funds reservation. For any questions about the information we reviewed, please check the New York State Guide to Financial Operations, section 11.2.c, or contact the SFS Help Desk for technical assistance. Thank you for learning with us. Be sure to check the Statewide Learning Management System and the Office of the State Comptroller website for additional videos.